It's 5 o'clock in Pirate Country, and it's time to get pumped up with the P-Man. Hit the door and hit the road. 94.3 The Game is going to get you home, and the P-Man's not holding back.
Yes! Yes! Pirates win! Pirates win!
Bring on the Patrick Johnson Show on 94.3 The Game.
Holy mackerel! Oh, my goodness!
The flagship station of the ECU Pirates.
All right, thank you, everybody, for being with us here today. Special time, as we will be on Thursdays for the next several weeks and months. 4 o'clock today. Do not adjust your dial. It is the Patrick Johnson Show, 94.3 The Game, the IBX Media app, 94.3thegame.com. I'm looking through this here. Pilk, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and the children of all ages, Philip the Ref Pilkington is here. I think he's fasting. I think he's fasting.
Yeah, it's kind of what it's come into.
Pilk, what do we always know whenever we present a story? What are we always kind of, when we present something that seems a little off, a little weird, a little strange? What is you've been with me long enough, what's always the thing that clicks now in the back of your mind?
I don't know.
No, not that Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift have a fake relationship and they've got a document they've signed when they're going to break up. No. There's always more to it, right? There's always the rest of the story, as the late, great Paul Harvey would say. And yesterday it seemed very odd that this news broke that Penny Hardaway would fire his whole staff at Memphis literally 2 months before the first game. Like, blow him out. They didn't leave and protest. He fired him. They said as much. So today, Memphis has now acknowledged in a letter alleging widespread potential NCAA violations in men's basketball. Penny Hardaway is purported to have personal involvement in the accusations of illegal player recruitment, which, what is that in this day and age? And academic violations. Aha, the NCAA could still get and sink their teeth into that. Against the backdrop of staff upheaval within the men's basketball program, a University of Memphis official acknowledged the existence of an anonymous letter alleging widespread potential rules violations in the program and said the letter has been passed along to the NCAA. The University of Memphis is aware of the anonymous letter, and it has been turned over to the NCAA, a university spokeswoman said in an email to Sports Illustrated. That is all we could say on the matter. Memphis head coach Penny Hardaway announced Wednesday the firing of 4 members of his staff, assistant Rick Stansberry, Faraji Phillips, and Jamie Roser, as well as special advisor Demetrius Dyson. No reasons were given by the school for their dismissal, and it's unclear if the firings are related to the letter, which was obtained by SI. The letter alleges Hardaway's personal involvement in what could be major violations in the recruitment of a player who came to Memphis and a second prospect who did not enroll at the school. The letter claims those violations occurred in 2020 and 2022. It also alleges academic violations that occurred in the 23-24 school year, so this past season. Allegations in the letter have not been independently substantiated. Hardaway's program previously was under investigation for alleged impermissible recruiting of James Wiseman and other prospects in 2019. Wiseman played just 3 games in a Memphis uniform. He was the subject of a 12-game suspension for accepting impermissible benefits, but left the school before the suspension was finished and then turned pro. A hearing panel for the NCAA's now shuttered independent accountability resolution process concluded Hardaway didn't violate NCAA rules because of his longstanding philanthropy in Memphis, but the school was fined and placed under a 3-year probation that ends September of 2025. Hardaway was suspended for the first 3 games of last season due to recruiting violations tied to 2 in-home visits in 21 involving a recruit from the graduating class of 23. One player on Memphis' team last season, Malcolm Dandridge, senior, missed the final 5 games of the season while the school conducted an investigation into eligibility. It's the same old with Memphis and Penny Hardaway. I mean, this kind of skirting the rules. Now, in this day and age, what the hell are impermissible benefits? But where they'll get them is the academics, because the NCAA can still hover around and say you can't change grades or whatever the academic improprieties may be, unless you're Chapel Hill. Then you can have sham classes. So as we often say, it was very weird to have an entire basketball staff 2 months before the first game of the season just totally blown out. Weird. Could be connected to this.
You know what this sounds like to me? This sounds like they violated rules, and then when they go to investigate later, sounds like they violated more than they've already been in trouble for. Penny's going to say, well, the guys that did it, I already fired them. They've been fired. We're good.
Yep.
We're good. Yes, you're right. I knew about it. That's why I fired the guys who did it. And I did my due diligence. Sorry, done. That's what he's not going to get away with it, but that's what he's trying to do.
Well, he might get away. Look at all the philanthropy he does in Memphis, which he has done. He has done. That's what got him out of trouble last time. I mean, we just read it in the article there. So there you go. There's always the rest of the story. It's a lot like when you fire the coordinator, right? That's kind of what this is like. These guys knew about it. I'm just the CEO of the program, and I did whatever a good CEO would do. I was alerted to the problem. I got to the bottom of the problem. I eliminated what was causing the problem. Hit it right on the head, Pilk. And it's more shenanigans and skirting the rules and skirting the edge by Penny, who will consistently underachieve there. Crazy. Let's do a Pirate report. Today on the show, Scott Jackson. He'll talk about Old Dominion with us. That's coming up in a few minutes. Radio host up on 94.1, the sports talk station in Norfolk. Good friend of mine, known Scotty for years, since our days in Raleigh. We used to work at the Fan, he did. And then also Brett Freidlander today. I'm looking forward to talking to Brett. Let's see here. Pirate Report. This is Coach Houston from yesterday, and this is Coach. His opening statement after the Wednesday practice. Pilk, hit it.
All right, Wednesday practice in the books. Good to have some nice cool weather this week, so it feels like fall. I'm sure that'll only be temporary, but challenging test Saturday. It's tough to win. It's really tough to win on the road, and playing a quality opponent. So we talked earlier in the week. Pretty significant step up in competition. It's going to be a great environment. I'm sure that the stadium's going to be full. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of purple in there too. So it's going to be a great environment to play in. Kids are excited about that. It's a race against time right now. You know, we had 2 weeks to get ready for Norfolk State, and now you got a week to get ready for a far superior opponent. So it's a race against time right now.
Mike Houston was asked if he could tell if the team was fresher. They've gone to practicing in the mornings this year. A lot of schools have done this. I think, Pilk, did we determine Scotty Moe did this
his last season here? Yep.
Yeah. You know, Duke had done that too under Cutcliffe, which I'm sure that's where Scotty Moe got it from. Mike Houston said earlier in the preseason camp, that this was a way to, give a little more space between the last challenging, difficult practice, which is Wednesday typically, right? Yeah. And then I guess a little bit Thursday, but I'm talking about contact practice. And then anyway, but still give some extra time between those final tough practices and game day. So Coach talked about that. Let's play it.
Absolutely. I'm telling you, because of our mistakes, Norfolk State really dominated the time of possession on Saturday because, we either scored quick or, got out of there quick, and so they held the ball for about 38 minutes. Our guys were at no point gassed. I mean, we were very, very fresh at the end of the ball game, which I was very encouraged by that. And that's going to be a challenge this year. It's a change in philosophy, which we prepared for. We prepared for it with the way we've trained all spring and summer with our players. And I think Big John and his staff has done an outstanding job of making sure we're in peak physical condition. But certainly the schedule's set up to help that also. And that's my message to them. We just finished right now is we won't go full speed again until Friday morning. So the big thing is getting our tanks back full today and tomorrow, recovery, sleep, nutrition, making sure that we get our bodies ready for Saturday. So I definitely think the schedule has helped, and I think that the intent with our training staff has helped.
Mike Houston was asked about, and he talked about this with us this week on Inside Pirate Athletics and on the Patrick Johnson Show Monday, and that was about Jake Garcia sliding, running the football, but hitting the slide rather than going into the contact.
Yeah, we talked about it. So we had him watch a cut up of Jackson Dart, and he's a pretty competitive guy too. So I don't care if he slides or if he does the little roll thing, but we don't want him taking those hits. And I had another quarterback a couple of years ago that used to try to do that too, and but he was about 50 pounds or 40 pounds heavier than Jake, so he had a lot bigger frame. So yeah, Jake's got to get his butt down.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't think Mike was necessarily referencing Holton Ahlers directly there. I think he was maybe talking about one of his JMU QBs. But yeah, I mean, Ahlers the same thing. Both defenses should be more ready for a high-tempo offense on Saturday night, according to Coach Mike Houston.
Both defenses are going to be accustomed to seeing what they're going to see on Saturday from a tempo and kind of scheme standpoint. But I challenged our guys today. Last year, the UTSA game, we lost that ball game because we did not handle their tempo well. And it's something we've talked about a lot in the offseason. We've worked a lot defensively to be better against it because it cost us last year. Not just that game, but that game one really sticks out because we played well enough offensively to win. So we've really tried to stress them this week in practice. And it's another thing we've really got to push ourselves to be ready for Saturday night, because if you look at the stats, ODU statistically last week went faster than we did.
Anson Belt and Buckle Pirate Game Day Countdown presented by Orthopedics East, coming your way at 3 o'clock Saturday here on 94.3 The Game and on the IBX Media app. Philip the Ref Pilkington, Scotty Scooter Rogers, and Joey Swifty. Joey Football, Joe Sampson will be involved. They'll talk with Stephen Igo and a lot more. Pilk, do you feel like Joey Football's giddy about the game tonight, not just because it's week 1 of the NFL, because he might see Taylor Swift? I think he is.
I don't know if it's that much. I think it's the music. I don't think he just cares that much to look at her. He's already got a girl to look at. He's got a girlfriend.
But I'm not saying he has a crush on her. I'm just saying he is Swiftie. He gets giddy when he sees her. Like
Maybe.
The Swifties
I don't think
do.
He's that hard of a Swiftie. Maybe.
Oh, he's a Swiftie. There's not levels of Swiftie. You're either all in. All right.
Oh, well, you know where you and I stand. That's what matters.
Yes. Don't stand with the Swifties. All right. Scott Jackson with 94.1 in Norfolk will be with us. Going to talk a little ODU and some Washington Commanders. He's also part of their radio network. So stay with us. We'll get into it when we come back.
Acre Station Meat Farm, along with Lane Angus Beef, bring you Farm to Fork Beef.
Stock your freezers now with affordable beef boxes, just in time for the grilling season.
Farm to Fork Beef brings quality local beef to your family. From your traditional butcher shop, Acre Station Meat Farm. Come on down to Acre Station Meat Farm and find out why we're #1 in fresh cuts and friendly service.
Acre Station Meat Farm, Highway 32 North, Pinetown.
Living easy is the sound of children laughing as you make memories with neighbors and friends. It's the sound of nothing at all. It's the smell of the salt air. Hear the waters against the marsh grass. See the beauty of our coast. Bow Coast, located in Beaufort, North Carolina. Southern Living's best small town.
Pirate game days, there's nothing like them. The atmosphere,
First down.
the tradition, the matchups, the magical finishes. Be a part of Pirate Game Days. Season tickets are as low as $115. Reserve your seat today to be a part of the experience of Pirate Game Days at Dowdy Ficklen Stadium this fall.
This is about you, your family, and the health of all who live in Eastern North Carolina. This is about the transformation of a health system into something more powerful and more human, about creating new ways to treat disease and keep you well. This is about ECU Health, which is to say, it's really all about you. ECU Health. Minds, hearts, purpose.
Download the new IBX Media app now and get the show for your ears and eyes.
Doesn't it look great on me?
This is the Patrick Johnson Show on 94.3 The Game.
All right, welcome back. It's nice to have on at this time from parts unknown. No, from the Norfolk Tidewater area. And he is the afternoon host on Priority Audio Sports Radio 94.1. Scott Jackson, my good buddy from many years, joining us here on the PJ Show. Scotty, how are you, my friend? Oh, we don't have Scotty's audio.
We had him. He was feeding me something earlier, Scott. If you plugged in headphones, took them out, anything like that, it'll mess it up. Log out, log back in real quick. Yeah, he was feeding me audio during the whole break.
Is that right? All right, we're going to get Scott to log out and log back in. All right, so that'll be the case there. The best laid plans of mice and men, Pilkington, as you know. By the way, it's been popularly talked about by now. Old Dominion played really, really well, especially defensively against South Carolina, and had some late turnovers in that game, and that was kind of the thing that did them in against the Monarchs of ODU. So we're going to get Scotty check back in here in just a bit, and we will continue on. There we go. Do we have Scott Jackson now? Do we? Oh, there he is, ladies and gentlemen. He's never sounded better. Scott Jackson with us here on the Patrick Johnson Show. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing good, man. Good to see you.
It's great to see you. Thanks for being on with us here. And it's Priority Radio, Priority Auto, 94.1 in Norfolk. Auto.
That's right. We had sold our naming rights. Used to be just ESPN Radio, but they figured out a way to make some money like all these sports franchises. So, yeah, we are Priority Auto Sports Radio.
I think it's interesting. All right, Old Dominion. What's the vibe after, losing but playing really well at South Carolina and having a chance?
Yeah, I mean, a little disappointed, I think, because, again, they had chances in that game, 4 turnovers against South Carolina, and, to lose the game that way, I think, was a little tough to swallow. They got a golden opportunity after a turnover. They were, first and goal, and, quarterback Grant Wilson throws an interception on the next play, so you don't get any points out of that. And they didn't drive the ball on ODU at all for touchdowns. Their 2 touchdowns were, fumbles that were, one was like on the 3-yard line, the other was inside the red zone. So they were able to really take advantage of short fields. Thought the defense played about as well as I could have expected them to, better than actually I would have expected them to. So that part of it was frustrating. So, just like anything, now you see if next week you don't just feel like, oh, we could show up because we played good against an SEC team and we're going to be fine. But clearly they've got some things they've got to work on if they want to go out and beat East Carolina this weekend.
It seemed like, too, when Old Dominion got the ball late, were up, and then they had the turnover that eventually led to South Carolina taking the lead. It's almost like they didn't have a great game plan for how to get out of that hole.
Yeah.
What do you think? Has that been talked about any this week?
Well, I mean, I think the problem was, they had the lead late, right? And then the turnovers took place after that. And they were on, remember, they did the ball one more time. They had what would have been a last chance to go ahead, touchdown drive. And, part of it was, South Carolina was beating them pretty good at the line of scrimmage in the first half. Second half balanced out a little bit. They protected Grant a little bit better. But, yeah, I mean, I think it would have been nice to see, and I think Ricky Ronnie kind of alluded to this with me this week, was, maybe move the pocket some more. There's some things they've got to do better with protection. But yeah, I think those are the things they look at. And, the running game never really hit this week like it had last year with the big runs. I mean, they had some good runs, but not like what they expected, I think. I really thought they would run the ball a little bit better in South Carolina. But again, give the Gamecocks credit. They got a couple guys that are probably playing in the NFL in a few years. They have a true freshman that is excellent on the D-line from D.C. But, yeah, I mean, I think those are some of the things that they're kind of focusing on this week. And, some of the guys, that they kind of expected to big parts of their offense really didn't have much of an impact at all on the past Saturday's game.
Scott Jackson from Priority Auto, 94.1 in Norfolk, Virginia, the afternoon host. You referenced Grant Wilson, the quarterback, couple years at Fordham, not quite 200 yards passing, almost completed 60% of his throws against the Gamecocks. What are they expecting out of him this year? Another good defense he'll face this week. What kind of quarterback is he, Scott?
Well, I think he's kind of been hot and cold, in stretches. Last year in the early part of the season, I think that's what got him benched for a while. He certainly has the ability to make big plays, as you saw with the run that he had, the touchdown run. Obviously, the big pass to Isaiah Page after they initially fell down 7-0 was a nice response from him. But they really need, as an offense as a whole, and it obviously always starts with the quarterback, there just needs to be a little bit more level of consistency, I think, from him. And, certainly protection has a lot to do with it. Last year, he was sacked a lot. Some of that was on him, though, holding the ball too long. Some of it was the O-line. So I think they're still trying to figure that out. I think he's got a little bit of leeway here over these next few weeks. I don't think they're going to look to make a quarterback change if it doesn't go well. He knows this offense back and front because he's been with the coordinator, Kevin Decker, with him at Fordham. They both came here together last year. He started the majority of the games. He's the first ODU quarterback since Taylor Heineke to return and start a season, as an incumbent. So I think there's some trust there, and he outplayed the competition in the spring and in the offseason. But, yeah, I mean, can't have 4 turnovers a game, bottom line, right? Like, you just can't have that. So yeah. I think those are the things. Clearly, he's just got to be a little bit smarter with it. But at the same time, he can't be conservative, right? He's got to be able to let it rip, and he's still got to be able to, know when to take off and try to make plays with his legs. He's got to protect the ball better.
Jason Henderson's the excellent linebacker for the Monarchs has been injured, but just what a dynamite player. The nose guard Lowry, I believe, is just a disruptor. Was against South Carolina. They've got some talent on the back end. This is a really good defense that is used to playing against the hurry up, which ECU is employing this year.
Yeah, and this will be a different challenge because really South Carolina was more run at you last week, right? And ODU's pass rush, they had a pretty good week with the pass rush last week. They could pick their spots, but obviously this week with South Carolina, they're really going to have to, be able to, get the subs in when they can, keep these guys fresh. You mentioned Henderson, really he was – I think that was like you could tell he's limited right now. I don't think he's there yet. Sideline to sideline, not the same guy. Forward, he was fine. You saw Koa Nawatala play quite a bit in this game, and he was excellent. Mario Thompson also played a lot. He was a reserve last year. He had a great game. So, I think the depth that they developed last year with some of the injuries really showed out in that linebacker position in particular in this past game on Saturday. The secondary is all new. These guys are all transfers and guys who haven't played before. So that's part of it. It's kind of like we're getting to know these guys. But that was a good showing from them, but clearly a much better passing offense, straight ahead this weekend with what we're going to see with the Pirates coming in here.
So they opened as Old Dominion at South Carolina last week and have the lead late in the fourth. They got the Pirates this weekend in the home opener, then Virginia Tech, and then they'll have an off week. This is a pretty for Coach there in the Monarchs. That's a pretty murderer's row to begin the year.
No doubt. And this game is kind of like you feel like it's like a must-have in a sense if you're ODU. You don't want to get caught looking ahead. Look, Virginia Tech lost to Vanderbilt, and they were supposed to be a contender in the ACC, so you just never know week to week. And even to take it a step further, after that off week, after they play Tech, they got to go to Bowling Green, which is not an easy place to play, and is always a pretty good program. So, it's tough. And they play, Texas State this year on the other side of the Sun Belt. The schedule doesn't do them any favors. It is definitely tough. With the way it's come out. And that's why it's kind of a little frustrating that you couldn't have gotten that banked at least the one game with South Carolina last week. But, they've got to get over it. This is kind of what happened last year. They went to Tech, lost. Then they had to come home and play a really good Louisiana team, in the second game and ended up winning that game in kind of a shootout. But you kind of be interested to see how this team kind of responds. I mean, I think the one thing they showed last year is they had some really devastating losses, but they really responded well. I mean, they were in so many close games. It didn't seem to matter, if they lost at the last second or won at the last second. Like the next week, the effort level was great. The level of play was high. So I think that's what you got to kind of bank on here if you're Ricky Ronnie and the staff.
All right, I'm going to ask you a little bit about the Commanders. Scott works on the Commanders radio network in a minute, but we mentioned Virginia Tech. What's the vibe with this Virginia Tech program? Because they got a ton of fans, obviously, in your neck of the woods up there in Norfolk.
Well, they're not happy right now after last week. I mean, that's a tough one. You can tell me Vanderbilt's going to be better or whatever. It's still Vanderbilt, right? There's a ton of expectations for the Hokies. They got, their quarterbacks returning. I think they had 81% of their production returning from last year, which is a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, you know how it is. This day and age, there's no continuity. Tech had all that going for them. They came out so flat, and people were, so mad. They did a nice job making it close. Obviously, getting it into overtime. Drones cramps up in overtime. You can't finish the game, which really hurt them. But yeah, and there was a penalty that they committed in this game where they had Vanderbilt to punt. Brent Pry doesn't call timeout. He has two numbered zeros in the field at the same time, ends up costing them, and so it extends Vandy's drive, which ends up being a big one. So this like little things that they just didn't do as a team, the players and obviously the staff too. It's just been Monday morning quarterbacked a little bit here. We're already, we're at Thursday right now.
Yeah. All right. Jaden Daniels, what are you expecting out of him this year?
Well, look, he's looked really mature. Look, he's played a lot of football, right? I mean, we have to understand that about him,
yeah.
Michael Penix, Caleb Williams. The good thing about this rookie class, the most part, these guys have played a lot of football. Throw obviously, all those guys in there, and that's a big deal. Bo Nix too. To have the experience. I think that shows. I think I would be surprised if he wasn't good, to be honest with you. I think he'll be a solid. I'm not saying he's not going to have some bad games or some bad moments, but I think he's going to be really good. The thing with him, like it is with a lot of the running quarterbacks, you're always concerned, hey, don't take too many hits, slide, get out of bounds, use the rules to your advantage for quarterbacks. They protect the quarterback. So I think that's the thing. I think Kingsbury's offense is set up for them to use the tempo, use his athleticism to their advantage. We didn't see a ton of it in the preseason. But I think you saw some different kind of looks in the training camp practices for people that covered that more so than I got to this year. Tell me that, they were doing a lot of things that we did not see in any of these preseason games, which would be exciting to see. And I think they're going to lean in on the run. I mean, they've got a good running game. Brian Robinson Jr. is a good back at 2 years, in the league now. Out of Alabama, was kind of underutilized last year with Eric Bieniemy's system that wanted to drop back every down, it felt like. And then, Austin Eckler coming in, I think is going to be a big help to them too, in kind of a lesser touch role for him than he had with the Chargers, but I think he's still going to be vitally important to this offense.
It seems, though, with Kingsbury, and I mean, it seems like they're a little more heavy on offense in a way than they are on defense. How's the defense going to be?
Well, the defense is interesting too because they played no regulars in the preseason. So we, Bobby Wagner's here, Frankie Louvu is here from Carolina, Jeremy Chin from Carolina. Some of the few good guys that were on Carolina, of course, all been moved out. Brian Burns got traded to the Giants. They're all in the NFC East now, right? All the good Panther defenders seem to be in the NFC East now. But I mean, we're all curious to see it because what Dan Quinn's Dallas defenses look like. They got after the quarterback, but there's no Micah Parsons on Washington. Now they have really good D tackles. Allen and Payne are excellent combo, the two Bama kids. And I think Johnny Newton, if he can play this week, I'm not sure he will, from Illinois, is going to be a big difference maker. Mike Sanistro on the back end, who is stud at Michigan. They love him. I think he's going to be a huge part of this this defense. I think he could be the Diggs or the Deron Bland guy who gets a lot of picks for that defense, is the star position, as they call it in this defense. So I think that will be a key. Can they generate pressure, get the takeaways, do the things that that Cowboy defense did over these last few years when they were at their highest, and then you go back to the Seattle years of Legion of Boom, kind of those looks. And having Wagner in the middle, I think, will really help with some of these younger players. So that it's going to be exciting. I think there's some interesting pieces there. I don't love the defensive ends they have, but I think they're good in other areas where they haven't been good in many years, including linebacker. I mean, Ron Rivera was a linebacker. He never got linebackers here, And, Jack Del Rio was a linebacker, and they never emphasized linebackers. It was very strange.
Scott Jackson, Priority Audio, 94.1 in Norfolk, Virginia, the afternoon host there. Scotty, thank you, my friend. We'll see you soon.
All right, thank you, Patrick. Good talking to you.
Awesome to have Scott Jackson on. Don't forget the Pirates and Monarchs. You can hear it right here beginning at 3 o'clock with our pregame coverage on 94.3 The Game. Pilk will anchor that. He also has an update from the update desk, a Pirate report as well. Here he is, the one and only Philip the Ref Pilkington ahead. Brett Freidlander.
Thank you, P-Man. Starting in Pirate Athletics, yesterday, John David Baker gave an injury update on star wide receiver Chase Sowell.
He's good. He's he's been with us for a while now. Just getting him back rolling. It's been good though to see number 5 out there running around a little bit.
In other Pirate news, the volleyball team will play their first home match tonight as they begin the Pirate Invitational. They'll be taking on North Carolina A&T at 7 o'clock. Admission is free inside Williams Arena, Minges Coliseum, for volleyball all season long. In MLB news, the Giants have extended their third baseman Matt Chapman on a 6-year extension worth $151 million. And the NFL kicks off tonight. Kansas City will be hosting Baltimore right after they get their rings, hoping to not do what they did last year after their ring ceremony when they fell 21-20 to the Lions. The Chiefs are favored by 3 in this, despite not having star wide receiver Hollywood Brown. That'll do it for your 94.3 The Game Sports Flash Update and Pirate Report. We'll be back on the other side of this time out with Brett Freidlander to talk some ACC football.
Hi, I'm D.R. Alligood.
And I'm his daughter, Jessica.
For 11 years, we have built quality driveways and parking lots for both your residential and commercial needs. We also offer free on-site quotes to have your custom driveways built the way you want.
252-946-1227.
Hey Glenn, let's talk about a new program at Greenville Nissan.
Sure, sometimes bad things happen to good people, like credit hiccups.
Greenville Nissan just rolled out credit forgiveness.
If you've been making consistent car payments and you're tired of that high interest rate, this program is for you.
Get into a new Nissan with a manageable payment and keep that cash in the bank.
Come visit us at Greenville Nissan and drive your Nissan home today.
Hurry, this program ends September 3rd. Greenville Nissan, where we drive to serve.
Big tax credits are back. Get a 30% tax credit, up to $2,000 off your new Mitsubishi electric heat pump install. Let Comfort Master help you take advantage of the tax credits with a qualifying Mitsubishi electric ducted heat pump or non-ducted Mitsubishi electric mini splits. Mitsubishi electric mini splits are ideal for bonus rooms, garages, or sunrooms. If you need a new HVAC unit, call Comfort Master today.
Call Comfort Master. Call Comfort Master.
The best burgers around. Everyone loves a thick, juicy, and fresh burger. Tiebreakers does real burgers better than anybody. And don't forget about the cheese sticks, fresh salads, and more. So don't just go to any burger-themed restaurant chain. It's time to break the chain and eat local. Tiebreakers, burgers and sports at its best.
Go Pirates! Arrgh!
You know what the problem is with standard belts? Usually you have to choose between too tight or the opposite, too loose. But with Anson Belt and Buckle, you don't have to choose. We got rid of the holes and instead have a track system designed for micro-adjustability. That way you can enjoy a perfect fit every time. Anson Belt and Buckle. Find your perfect fit today.
Hi, I'm D.R. Alligood.
And I'm his daughter, Jessica.
For 11 years, we have built quality driveways and parking lots for both your residential and commercial needs. We also offer free on-site quotes to have your custom driveways built the way you want.
252-946-1227.
Your confidence makes everything look good. You see the world in vivid color, not black and white. Swing through your neighborhood Fantastic Sam's Cut in Color. And let our experienced stylists take you from everyday to extraordinary.
Fantastic Sam's hair salons are locally owned and operated. Our full-service salons are conveniently located in Goldsboro, Kinston, Greenville, New Bern, Jacksonville, and Calabash. Stop in today at Fantastic Sam's, where the possibilities are endless.
We are riding shotgun with you on the drive home.
It's showtime.
This is the Patrick Johnson Show on 94.3 The Game.
All right, thanks for being with us here. We got Philip Philip the Ref Pilkington producing. Great job on the update. Tomorrow back at 5 o'clock, Steve Logan, and also we'll talk to AG Coach on the day of the Aiden Collard Festival. That is Paul Cornwell. We say hello now to Brett Freidlander from Saturday Road. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing great. First of all, I love your shirt, Topsail. Actually, North Topsail is my favorite beach along the coast. Second of all, it's no longer Saturday Road. We've consolidated all of our conference sites into one, and we are all now part of Saturday Down South.
Okay, cool. I like it, actually. I think that's a good thing. Saturday Down South will include Freidlander's work there. I like it, Brett. That's good. Thanks for telling us that. You know, I saw your byline actually. Yeah, I saw your byline on the site when I was just looking through some stuff yesterday ahead of this appearance. And I did see where it was under Saturdays Down South, but I thought maybe you were just doing a little moonlighting for the sister site, you know, during the summer, that kind of thing. But that's cool.
With all the expansion and all the shuffling of the deck, I think they just decided that, you know, there's no such thing as Saturday Out West, Saturday Tradition. Let's just make it all one site because, I mean, you've got California teams in the Atlantic Coast Conference. Right. You've got Southern Cal and UCLA in the Big Ten, and now Texas and Oklahoma in the SEC. So I think the mishmash just got to be too much.
Not a whole lot out west right now.
No.
Mountain West, I guess.
The Big Two.
You know, the Big Two, yeah. Well, you know, we just had Scott Jackson. I remember Scotty from his time at 99.9 The Fan way back in the day, and he's up at Norfolk now doing the afternoon sports thing there. And he talked about Pry at Virginia Tech. This is obviously a situation where he did not handle the game very well. No. And they were a team. I knew they had players coming back. I didn't realize Scotty just gave us the number. I mean, it was like 80+% of their production coming back. So that really was a bad loss.
Number one in the nation. They had the most returning production offensively in the country. So it was huge. I mean, first of all, you don't ever lose to Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt is, you know, that is about as low as you can get on the food chain. And the way they lost, to me, was the worst part about it is, okay, they got off to a terrible start. Maybe they underestimated Vanderbilt, but they came back and took the lead, and they had a lead of a touchdown with, a minute and a half to go. Hold the thing, get out of town, live to play another day. And they just let Vanderbilt walk right down the field, score, and then in overtime it was pretty much the same thing. I thought that was a horrible loss. You know, it doesn't really help, or it doesn't really hurt their chances to win the ACC because it wasn't a conference game. But right. I don't think that bodes well. I mean, I just think that's a bad look.
The other loss, and we'll get to Florida State in a minute, trust me. But the other loss that is, you know, people are having a good time with it, but I think, you know, it doesn't really hurt them, is Clemson. Now, I think there's going to be other things that could really hurt Clemson. But the loss to Georgia is not one of them. And let's face it, Georgia's right now the favorite to win this whole thing. I mean, until somebody – yeah. And we're not talking about them any at all. Now,
no, but Patrick,
Clemson's finding a lot of. But
don't
wait a
lose
minute,
by
I'm not going to
31.
go. I know I'm not going to defend Dabo here, but although I like Dabo, I just their quarterback is the issue. They have everything else, at least on paper. And talking to some of my spies down there in Death Valley, they feel really good about a lot of different positions. But they still felt really lousy about quarterback in the fall camp.
Well, I mean, this is the guy that they ran DJ Uiagalelei out of town to because he was the next big thing. But we'll get to that in a minute. But I don't necessarily think that Cole is the only problem. I think he is a big part of it. He doesn't get rid of the ball quick enough. He holds on to it too long, makes bad decisions, especially when pressured. But I think Garrett Riley's play calling has something to do with it. The fact that their wide receiving core is just, other than Antonio Williams, is non-existent helps. And I didn't think that they played well on the line of scrimmage. You can't run the ball. You can't do anything because now everybody just lays back and defends the secondary. So they ran for 40-something yards, and they just weren't getting any holes. Now, we will find out starting Saturday, whether that was more to do with Georgia or if, those are structural issues that Clemson is not going to be able to overcome. Let's see what they do against App State, because, that's a team with, Power 5 upsets in its DNA. And, gave Carolina fits last year in Chapel Hill. So, they're going to be a test. And let's see how Clemson addresses it, because I think defensively they're still elite, but I think offensively they got a lot more problems than the quarterback.
Saturdays Down South is where you can go online and read Brett Freidlander's work. Now he's covering the ACC. Let's talk a little bit about Florida State. If not, look, Billy Napier's the happiest man right now in Florida, because if not for this debacle going on in Tallahassee, Napier would have all of the heat on him. Actually, Napier's got plenty of heat on him. But, boy, I tell you, I saw the end of the Georgia Tech game. I said this the other day. I saw the end of the Georgia Tech game. And then I was coming back from the ECU coaches show down here, too. Surf City, the working man's beach on Topsail Island, as you noted. Fran, 1996, destroyed North Topsail, by the way, as you know very well.
Yes, I know. Believe me, I lived in Fayetteville at the time, and we got hit hard there, too.
Crazy stuff. Newbern got a bunch of storm surge. Anyway, so I was listening to the Florida State feed, and I was listening to the BC feed on radio coming back. And, I mean, BC was having their way with Florida State. DJU is not in a system that plays to his strengths, whatever they may be, but they seem like they are getting pushed around these first two games up front.
Absolutely. They've been manhandled in the trenches on both sides of the ball. They can't run the ball. Georgia Tech ran for 190 yards, and I want to say it was like 230 that BC ran for.
Yeah.
They couldn't stop them. They couldn't stop them. And that's, they've got the hardest part of their schedule still coming up. So, yeah, these are problems that the transfer portal is a wonderful thing, and it can cure a lot of ills, but it is not a guarantee. You got to bring in the right guys. And it sure looks like that Mike Norvell has not done that this time, does it?
What does their season look like in your mind from here on out? I mean, is there still a chance? I guess there is.
There's always a chance, but I mean, right now at 0-2 in the ACC, they not only have to run the table, they've got to go 6-2, and then they've got to hope that a lot of other people get beat too, because you only have to finish second to get in the ACC championship game, but there are tiebreakers, and by the way, if either Virginia Tech, Louisville, or NC State have the same record as Florida State, they're going to win the tiebreaker, because all those teams play both Boston College and Georgia Tech, which means they will have beaten those teams, which means if it comes down to a multi-team tiebreaker, Florida State doesn't win it. So it's going to take a miracle for them to get into the championship game. Right now, I think, the best that you could hope for if you're Florida State is to get your act together during the bye week this week and be able to play well enough that maybe you get to go get mayonnaise dumped all over Mike Norvell's head at the Mayo Bowl in Charlotte in December. Which would be appropriate, wouldn't it, considering the way this season has started?
Yeah. Yeah, slime maybe, like they used to have on the Nickelodeon TV shows. All right, so the U, how legit is Miami? I mean, I think talent-wise, they may be the most talented team in the ACC. I know there's still people that aren't fully on board, but, I mean, they look really good in dispatching of Florida.
Well, the reason people aren't on board completely yet is because we've seen this before. They've always had talent, but I think the difference with this Miami team is that they've got a difference maker playing quarterback. You could just see Cam Ward and the difference that he made, and just some of the throws, running one way and to get out of trouble and throwing across his body to an open receiver through a really tight window. I mean, he's just got it. And I think that's the one thing Miami has not had since they've been in the ACC. Now, here's the problem. They still have Mario Cristobal. So, he is good for at least one game every year to cough away. And I give you Middle Tennessee State 2 years ago, and then I give you Negate against Georgia Tech last year. Georgia Tech, yeah. So if Mario just rolls the football out, stays out of the way, this Miami team has a shot to make some noise, not only in the ACC, but in the playoff.
We got Brett Freidlander with us here. Let me ask you a couple more things. Let's bring it back to North Carolina and the Triangle. Malik Murphy and Duke, they'll play tomorrow night at Northwestern. I didn't watch a ton of that game that Friday night, but what I did see, a little bit of a mixed bag from Murphy, made some throws that looked a little questionable. He also had some balls that his receivers just simply dropped. So what's the feeling in Durham after week one?
Well, first of all, I think the defense, there's not going to be a drop-off. Manny Diaz is a defensive coach, and I think you saw that they're going to be formidable defensively again. I think they led the ACC last year at the fewest points. So there's that, and that's a really good foundation to build on, especially when you got a guy like Malik Murphy who was making his first career start. Actually, it wasn't his first career start, but his first start at Duke, and he's only made a couple of starts at Texas. He's working with a new set of receivers, and there's just a timing issue. And I thought that he threw the deep ball really well, but wasn't quite as accurate. And I think that that's something that can be corrected. And so I think that you're going to see a better Malik Murphy this week, and you're going to see him continue to get better as he gets more experience, as they build some chemistry on that offense. So I'm pretty optimistic about Duke watching that performance.
I love the look of the Northwestern Stadium. That's a soccer stadium that they've made. It's a very cool look. And whatever monstrosity they're about to dump tens of millions of dollars into, don't. Just retrofit this thing. And I mean, nobody's showing up for that stuff there at Northwestern. Come on, get real. Just do that.
The smaller the venue,
stadium. Yeah,
the smaller the venue, the more chance you have of filling it, and the better it looks on TV.
Yeah, absolutely. To North Carolina, where, according to Biff Poggi, that's the best program in North Carolina is UNC. And I get what he was trying to say there. I mean, I talking up the opponent. I mean, Mac Brown's had some success. The NC State people are all panties in a wad over this. But they got quarterback issues at UNC, and they were only exacerbated with Max Johnson's injury. And now I guess Connor Harrell is going to be the starter.
It's interesting. First of all, as far as Biff is concerned, he's taken a page out of the old Bill Dooley book where he'll find something positive to say about, Tulane is the finest winless team in America. William and Mary has got the finest long snapper in the country. So there's that.
That's great, Brett. That was great.
You have to be a certain age to really kind of appreciate that one. But yeah, I mean, listen, they had. If Max Johnson had separated himself from Connor Harrell and Jacoby Criswell, it wouldn't have been such a secret that he was going to start. And I don't know the way he started that game, even before he got hurt, if he was going to finish that game anyway. So here we have now the dilemma has been solved. Okay. Fate has basically said, okay, we now have a winner of the quarterback sweepstakes. It's Connor Harrell. And they've got 3 weeks now. They've got Charlotte this week, North Carolina Central next week, and Old Dominion the week after to figure out if he's the real deal, if he's going to be able to be the guy that moves this team and goes forward, or if you're going to have to bring Jacoby Criswell in and give him a shot. I think Harrell, if you go back to the Mayo Bowl last year, if they cut him loose and let him do what he did against West Virginia, I think they'll be fine. In fact, I think they'll probably be better off than they were with Max Johnson because Harrell is more mobile. He's got that run element in him, and he's got a very strong arm. It's just not really accurate at this point. But I think that they've got to give him the full playbook, and they've got to turn him loose because when they let him in the game after Johnson's injury against Minnesota, it was almost like playing not to lose and playing not to make a mistake. And if they baby him like that, I think they're going to be in trouble. So I think you throw him out there. You've got 3 opponents that you should be able to beat, especially if the defense continues to play the way it did in Minnesota, and Omarion Hampton can do what he does. Just throw him out there, let him go, and see what he can do.
All right, just a couple minutes here for NC State and Tennessee. And I know the game with an SEC team everybody's talking about is Michigan and Texas. But this game, at least in the preseason, looked very appealing. A lot less appealing after week 1, I have to imagine, in Charlotte.
Let's not knee-jerk reaction over one game. It was a dress rehearsal. It was an offense that has a lot of new moving parts, including the quarterback. And then let's just take away the first 3 quarters to kind of get a feel for everything. And by the way, the best defensive player, or the most important defensive player, the guy with the headset communication, got ejected on the 3rd play of the game. So it really knocked that defense back. State only gave up 7 points after the first quarter. And the offense finally kind of started to find a rhythm with the running game with Jordan Waters and Grayson McCall started to use his tight end a little bit more in the fourth quarter, and they scored 21 points in the fourth quarter. So I'm looking at from the defensive standpoint, the first quarter on, and then the offensive standpoint, the fourth quarter, and maybe they've built a little bit of momentum. And like they always say that the biggest improvement in a player comes between the freshman and sophomore years. Well, I think that the biggest improvement in a team also comes between the first and second games, because, you can look at the film, you can kind of figure out what we did wrong, what needs to be tweaked, what needs to be changed. And I'm not saying State is going to win this game, but I'm going to say don't judge what happens on Saturday based on what you saw last week, both from a State standpoint and the 69 points that Tennessee put up, because I think these are going to be two different teams.
Tennessee's got a great defense, though. They really do. Really fast
They
defense.
do.
All right.
And State's going to have to score some points, because Nico, no matter how good you are defensively, he's going to give you trouble.
Sure. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Great stuff, Brett. Thank you. SaturdayDownSouth.com now is where you can go. It's the full clearinghouse for all of the ACC content that Brett does. Great to talk to you. We'll talk to you again later in the season, I hope.
Anytime, Patrick. Thanks.
All right. Awesome to have Brett Freidlander on. Wasn't that great, Pilk? God, he's good. He
is great. I love him. He's so it's so conversational, and so he's insightful, but he's funny when it's time to be funny, and it just I don't know, and he's all, there's everything.
Yeah,
complete
that was
package.
Good. Great to have him on. Great to have Scott Jackson on. We had 2 great guests today. All right, the Steve Logan Show. The Logan Zone is coming your way in just a few minutes. Top of the hour. It'll air here on 94.3 The Game for 2 hours. Also, the IBX Media app and our sister station, 96.3, down at the coast. So you could tune in and catch Coach Logan here in just a matter of minutes. Back in the morning on Talk of the Town, as they'll be live from the Aiden Collard Festival. Back at our normal time of 5 o'clock tomorrow with Coach Logan to kick off the show at 5. And with Aiden Grifton, head coach, we will talk with our dear friend, the coach of the Aiden Grifton Chargers, Paul Cornwell. All of that tomorrow, plus the debut of a new segment on the Patrick Johnson Show. We'll give it a run. Thanks to Brett. Thanks to Scott. Thanks to Pilk. P-Man here with you, saying have a great rest of your afternoon and evening. The Logan Zone. You're going to enter it coming up next.